Now where did this come from? Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld is a miniseries that ran on DC Nation. Sorta like Shorty McShort-Shorts, except good. And I mean, really good. Yeah, this is actually surprisingly good. It's based on the comic series of the same name, but I'm not familiar with them at all. So in that regard, you're going to have to bear with me. There are 7 episodes of the miniseries, each about a minute and change long. That totals up to 9 minutes. It's interesting too, because each episode sets up a clear beginning, middle, and end, which is insanely hard to do in 1.5 minutes. In turn though, if you're watching this as if it was like a drop pilot or something, the pacing would be really wonky. I'd actually recommend watching and treating each part individually. The story is about a girl named Amy. She's a computer nerd who makes her own video games. In the first episode, she's complaining about a glitch that causes the game to crash when she's fighting the last boss. Then the game comes alive and calls her Princess Amethyst, and sucks her into the game, because that tends to happen. Immediately, we're hit with its sense of humor. There's a Sailor Moon type transformation, and suddenly, Amy is in the sky, falling to her death. She's saved by a winged Pegasus.
Okay, this is just weird.
Trust me, it's not anymore. What is weird is that this guy here says that she's been summoned to find the missing gem. Because each episode has such little time to get their points across, a lot of the typical stuff you'd find in this kind of story is really glanced over. One second Amethyst is doubting herself, and the next she's being attacked by a spider thingy, and fending for herself. I can't say that the series is better for it, but sometimes it is nice to get through the must-have bullet points in a story type, because you see them every single time. And actually, it leads on to a strange kind of humor. One spider guy, boom, it's dead.
I have underestimated her.
There's just the kind of charm to this miniseries that I find remarkably fascinating. The miniseries uses and parodies many video game tropes. Many of the episodes focus on a battle of some kind, and the enemies usually require some interesting and clever way to defeat them. It isn't long, though, before the short time period seems to be both a blessing and a curse. With such a short time limit, the humor needs to be fast-paced, which is excessively good for humor. Unfortunately, it hurts the drama and the action by having the enemies defeated fairly quickly. I and many others believe that this could have been expanded into a full-fledged series, since many of the episodes could be expanded into a full 11 or even 22 minutes. It probably should be. The production values are really there. I love the animation style. It actually kind of feels like they were inspired by the original Legend of Zelda cartoon, using some of their ideas and expanding it and improving them. It's not just me, right?
Useless. It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
Oh yeah, did I fail to mention that these guys really did their homework? The music's not bad either. Speaking of this guy, he was the original hero of the game, Prince Topaz.
There's a whole big scary world out there waiting to be explored.
Yeah!
Well, that's one outlook to have. Did I mention that these episodes would probably be better paced if DC Nation made this a full-fledged series? Speaking of 80s cartoons, a lot of it feels like it was inspired by the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. The best draw to that show was how the characters were continuing on their quest, and the new obstacle that they'd fight in each particular episode. Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld, has that kind of charm, without the cheesiness that kind of dates Dungeons and Dragons. During the final battle of this, you can see that they've got really good action scenes. It's a DC Nation cartoon. That kind of thing is second nature to them. They ain't bad on the humor front either.
This has only begun.
Let's hope. DC Nation really has something on their hands here. I mean, the only real problem is the pacing, but if it had a full-fledged series with full-length episodes, it would be a non-issue. It's an interesting take on the superhero show, and one that I don't think that I've seen before, if you discount the 2 shows that I mentioned earlier. Check it out if you haven't already. This is the kind of thing that does need some support.